everybody, it's Christine. It's time for a scrapbook process video, and hopefully I'm not setting myself up for failure here. I mean, I don't see how scrapbooking is ever a failure, but we'll see how this goes, because what I have here is I have 6 photos. So we went to Mount Vernon on Christmas Day. It says Christmas at Vernon. And now I'm kind of rethinking my own deal here. So let me see. Hold on. So I got Christmas at Mount Vernon. I've got pictures of, selfie with us with the house. There's me and my family with the house. And so anyways, I got a bunch of the pictures of the house. And then this one that's of the view from the back of the house. I have to think about this because I kind of want to use it, but it's a different orientation. So we'll see. And then I do have the passes. So what I've been kind of debating on is what collection to use and the design. I don't even know what the design is. I made them smaller print, so I don't have to do necessarily 2 pages. But I do have a lot of pictures here, so I don't know yet. But I thought about maybe using this Jen Hadfield Reaching Out. The colors are okay in the sense of so kind of this peachy color here, but then there's all this blue. And I'm kind of going, okay, can I make some of this work? Because obviously bicycles won't work. But there's some cool florals here, hearts, stuff like that. I don't know about the house, but there's some things I think I might can use. I want to kind of challenge myself a little bit, but also, not make it too hard. But, yeah. So I like this floral a lot. So I'm going to go through, pick out some paper, see what I can figure out my design, and come back on in a minute. Talk soon. Okay, gang, quick check-in, because I think I'm going to have to kind of redo my plan a little bit. Because I pulled all these pictures out, I trimmed them down a little bit, and I was thinking, okay, I can organize these. And it's just, but I want these tickets too, or some of the tickets, and I just go, okay, I've got too much stuff going on. So I've kind of culled it a little bit. I pulled this out because I think what I'm going to make is 2 single. I thought about a 2-pager, but I really don't want to do that. That's not my style normally. It's not that I can't, but it's not my preferred. So I'm thinking now what I'm going to do is just 2 companion pages. So not technically a 2-page layout, but companion pages. And I called these 2 pieces out, or these 2 pictures out for the moment. And I kept the gate, the selfie of my family, my selfie, and my husband and mine. And that's kind of cause I'm thinking these are the ones with us in it, because I have another batch of pictures that are the inside of the house and stuff. And I'm thinking I can use those on a companion layout. And these are my people pictures or whatever. And I'm thinking what I'm going to do. So I've got these, I showed you guys this, the pad. I think I picked out this. I pulled out of my stash a cardstock and a little green cardstock, and then this floral, right? I mentioned those. I think I'm going to layer these up. And I think what I'm going to do is kind of put them along the bottom like this. But I do still want these tags or these tickets here. So I think I'm going to end up putting them kind of like this. I'm going to have some kind of horizontal deal here. And I may do a square or something. So anyway, that's kind of what I'm showing you. This is what I've kind of culled it down to. And I'm going to regroup just a little bit here. Of course, Mr. Saturn is all up in my business. But let me regroup just a bit, and then I'm going to cut down some things, and then I'll show you. I do have 2 more of my cardstock here because I'm probably going to mount my photos maybe. I have to look at it, though, after I get the pages cut and stuff. So I have these set aside. All right, talk soon. Okay, gang, I have cut down the little diagonal, I guess that's a plaid, to 11.5, I think it is. And then I did green at a 10 by 10, and then I've cut this floral here at 11 by 5.5. And I decided to ink all the edges of those papers, not the base cardstock, but all the other pages. I inked those with Vintage Photo. It just seemed appropriate because this is an old house. And then I did also pull from my stash that green tone-on-tone kind of leaves or whatever. You see a real skinny strip. It's basically a 1/2 inch, I guess, by probably 11.5, because it's not quite the full 12 by 12. And I was kind of sad about that on the one hand. On the other hand, I think it looked fine once I got in. Because I was looking for a strip, and this is the right color and everything. And I'm like, well, you're just a hair too small, and I almost didn't use it. And I thought, no, you look really good with the color. So I decided to stick with the little 1/2 inch, but even though it's a little less than 12, which is what I kind of thought to do originally. So anyway, I'm not going to gut these papers because I have a ton of papers in that pad, and then it's just a cardstock, blah, blah, blah. So I'm going to leave them not gutted. I have glued down that, like I said, that pink, is that a gingham? Maybe it's a gingham. Glued that down. Then I got my green square down, and then I'm going to take this floral. I'm going to glue this down, and then I'm going to take my little green stripe here in just a second. I don't know if I glued this down yet, though, because I put down I put these tickets. We actually were given, it was kind of interesting when we did it as a tour. It was a day tour. So they picked us up at the hotel, and then they took us over to Mount Vernon, and then they buy the tickets for you, and then they give them to you. And they gave us the grounds tickets. I say gave us. They came as part of the package. Grounds tickets, and then mansion tickets, which I thought was interesting. I guess you can buy a grounds ticket only if you want to, just to wander around, but you don't get to go in the house unless you have the house ticket. And of course we got both as part of the package, but then what was funny about it is they didn't even ask to see our house ticket when we walked over there and got in line. So I don't know. I guess if you're bold, you could just go over there and get in line, but that might be different during the summer or something, because it was cold out and not as many people were there, because we actually saw like some, what are those called? Like queue line things, like chains or whatever that might manage a queue. And it was really long, and I thought to myself, oh my God, if that's how the lines get in the summertime, I'm so glad we're here at winter. Now, they did have some piece of the grounds were closed. There's like a little winery or something. I guess George Washington had some type of, I don't know if it was wine or if it was like whiskey, bourbon-y type stuff, something. It was some kind of alcohol that they made on the property, but it was a little ways off. And I guess in their seasonal time, you'd get in like a shuttle or something that would take you over there, but that was closed during the wintertime here, so we didn't go there. So maybe it's more busy and they check tickets more often, but they didn't check our tickets. And the nice thing is we got to keep them, and I really like them because it does have the date on there, although I did cover these. I'm going to put the other ones that I have, I think, on the other page or tuck them in some kind of way. But they have the little images on the top, and I really like those because there's like the house. The one I've got on here is actually a painting of the house, and you could see the painting in the museum. I forgot the gentleman's name that painted it, but he painted the house, and then there was actually one of the other images on the tickets was the actual house, and then, of course, George Washington, a couple of versions of him. So now at this point, I have got down all the photos. I did mount the photos on the kind of creamy-colored cardstock and ink the edges of those as well. And you've seen I've kind of got those across the bottom, and then I've put my tickets, and then I'm just calling this our visit to George's house. That might be a little bit, what's the word, irreverent, but it says Mount Vernon on the ticket. So I'm like, okay, this is just my way of using up, honestly, a lot of letters. And I kind of like this set of fonts here. So the gold one was from Pink Fresh, and then this blue, like, scripty font, I believe was a Hip Kit. I think it is. You can see it on the deal there. It might be pink. It's one or the other. It came in a kit. I'm pretty certain it came in a Hip Kit collection. Now, whether they actually exclusive or not, I can't swear on it because it's too little and I'm not looking at the package right now. But either way, that's how I got it. Anyways, so I start off with this, our visit, and I started to move it all around to make more room for the other second T, because you see the T's are quite large. And I go, no, I like that S down in there. So I'm going to end up kind of messing with that, bringing it. Do I bring that back? No, I guess that's how that goes right there. But the T that I picked next, I mess with this for just a minute, y'all. I'm thinking, okay, maybe, because I want it to be visit too, but this T's too big. And y'all, I'm going to go ahead and cut it in a second. I look at that and I think about it. And then I think to myself, well, you got extra T's. If you cut it and it don't look right, you can just grab another T. So I do. I take the plunge and I cut off my little edges here. And I like how it turned out, because now I got a big T and a little T here. And it says our visit to George's house. Now, I've got my little ephemera and all that stuff on the left over there. I did go through, it had a really big white border. And honestly, I don't normally mind that. But in this case, I didn't care for it so much. So I did take my scissors, and I've already trimmed it. You can kind of see some of the trash. I just threw it away there. But on the little florals and things, I kind of cut that white border down to make it a little more usable. I do have these stickers here, and I'm going to start messing with these. I actually almost left thank you on that little circle that I pulled off for a moment. I started with that little sun, and I put him away. I didn't like that. There's a little house here. I thought, well, it's a house, so I'm going to put it there. I do put a floral. I got a couple floral stickers. I pulled off the sticker sheet. Actually, that wasn't from Reaching Out, if I'm honest. I believe that was actually Jen Hadfield's Peaceful Heart, but I did like those flowers, so I'm going to use those. But I had that thank you on that little round piece there, and I almost left it because in my head I'm thinking, you know, thank you for being our first president and all that kind of stuff. But I actually end up covering that up in a minute. I find these little blue words, you can kind of see them on the left as well, that I kind of pulled out, and I'll cover up thank you. I think I do add thank you right there though. So I do have the words thank you on here. I just don't have it twice. So I'm going to take the little blue. I think one of those says, oh gosh, y'all, I wish to goodness I was looking at the layout right now, but I stepped away. It's something like blessed and treasured or something like that is the blue words. And I kind of like those because it's a treasure. The sad story, so the story about this, so, it's George Washington's home. And of course, it, was after he passed away and his wife passed away and stuff, it was left to, children, grandchildren, that sort of thing. Actually, I think it was grandchildren because I think their children had passed, or he never actually had any children, which I didn't know that. It was his wife's children. But anyways, it was being passed down and people would come and this and that. Well, it was kind of getting run down. It was actually pretty badly run down. And there was a lady, and I'm so sorry, I read it and I've got all the stuff in the little guidebook, but there was a lady that said, oh my gosh, she went and saw the house or something for some reason, or she realized that the home was getting really bad run down, and she's like, I cannot believe we're going to let the home of our first president, basically go become decrepit and all that. So she actually ended up forming an organization called like the Ladies of Mount Vernon or something like that, and they did a ton of fundraising. They ended up buying the property from George Washington's, I think it was his step-grandson. Anyway, they buy it from him. He didn't really want to sell it initially, but they ended up buying it from him, and they restored it. And thank God they did, because it would have been just honestly a tragedy. And they did a really good job. I mean, they've gone in and, it's refurbished, obviously. There's tourism, but they've done, obviously you can't touch everything anymore. And, it's kind of blocked off, whatever, so you're not touching furnitures and things like that. And they do a good job kind of managing the traffic through the home. But it's kind of interesting. You're going in there, and it was expanded a couple of times. So, George Washington was a very successful farmer and quite wealthy. They talk a lot about that. They do talk about his enslaved people, which he did free his enslaved people upon his death. So that was kind of a cool story there. But it's a beautiful property. It's back, and I showed you the one picture where the back actually looks out over the river. And it's just beautiful, even cold, because it was cold, but not terrible. You can see the sky is quite blue. It was a beautiful day, so we were really lucky that day to go see it. I'm just building out these clusters, so you can kind of see it's not really a diagonal. I guess it's kind of a diagonal, but I have a little bit of florals in the upper left behind the one ticket. And then I put a little cluster kind of in the middle next to the title there with a little house and another little floral and then that little thing that says thank you. And then I'm building out this little bit bigger cluster down here in the bottom with that little wreath of things that had thank you, and I've covered it now, and then a floral. I'm kind of looking at these frames. I actually start to maybe use the little wood circle here. I kind of like it, but when I put it up on the ticket, I go, that looks kind of stupid. I don't want to do that. So I end up not using those little wood frames. I end up putting that away, even though I kind of like how it looks with the colors and all that. I just really couldn't figure out a way to make that work right. So then I do pull out these little buttons. These buttons have come in handy. They're hip kit buttons. And I'm able to kind of pick and choose some of the colors that match. So I'm going to put basically, what do I do here? I'm trying to remember now. I think I put 2 buttons in the upper left and 2 buttons in the lower right. And I'm just kind of picking out these colors. I kind of wished I had one more little bit smaller button for the upper left, but I ended up making it work. It's okay. And the funny thing is I have 2 sets of buttons. It's actually two different colors. Or excuse me, 2 different collections, but the colors are very complementary. So I'm pretty pleased with that. And they go with this collection here as well. I didn't end up, so what else did I pull out of here? Oh, I pulled out some gold. So the font with the George's house, there's actually a bunch of little gold dots. It's probably supposed to be periods or something like that. But I end up using them as almost like basically enamel dots in a minute. I'm just going through, y'all. You've seen me do this before. I'll touch things. I'll just keep touching my layout. I don't really know why. I guess because I'm a tactile person and I touch it to make sure it's kind of what I want. I guess maybe I do end up with a 3rd button up there. Nope. No, I don't either. I mean, y'all, this is so sad. I literally just did this layout like 4 hours ago and, well, I can't remember what I did. Oh, I do like this word peaceful, so I end up putting this on here. I kind of move it around just a little bit. And it goes down there, I think, if I'm not mistaken. I did like peaceful because I did think the view and everything was peaceful out behind the house. I mean, they talked about how, as he actually went into public service technically two different times, right? Because one was kind of as a military leader and then one was as a political leader. And they talked about how he both times was like he just longed for home. Like for him, like home was home, right? And so... And it kind of made sense when you saw that view out the back window or the back property or the back porch or whatever. They had a fancy word for it, and I don't remember what it was, but it was stunningly beautiful. So here's where I'm going to pull out these little gold dots, and I'm just going to kind of sprinkle these amongst my little clusters here. And I think I put 3 in each little section, and it just takes me just a second to do that. I contemplated adding some sprinkles because I did do the inking on the sides, but then I got a little bit worried that I was going to add too much going on. I mean, sometimes I get to going with my embellishments, and I think, good grief, Christine, you need to probably slow down. You're going to add too much stuff here. So anyways, I'm going to get these little dots, and I'll be done with it. After that, yep, that's it. But I have to touch it just a few more times. That's just how I am, you see. I touch it. But anyway, that's all I'm going to do this layout. I will have a companion at some point, but I'll slow this down so you can see these. I think this turned out pretty, and I got 4 pictures plus some tickets on here. So that's a pretty productive layout for my mind. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you next time. Don't forget to subscribe, and you can check out my Instagram at Scrapping Harden. And I'll have a hop on the 10th, too. I got a bunch of folks participating, so I'm excited about that. And we will see you then. Bye.